This is Starting Out Bright, and I'm so glad you're here. I'm Noreen Savage, and we're going to have some fun because Melodie Tubis is in the house. People ask me how I got started with this and why I'm doing it. I will tell you, first of all, who I am and who I'm not. I am nobody official with Bright Line Eating, but Bright Line Eating has done a lot of good for me. I got started in 2019. A couple months after my friend posted on Facebook that she had lost 57 pounds with a program called Bright Line Eating. If anybody was interested, they could just message her. So my hot little fingers got over to message her, and she proceeded to tell me that there were 4 bright lines talked about in a book by Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson. The book is, of course, Bright Line Eating. And the 4 lines are no sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day, weighed and measured portions. When I heard all that, I was sunk. I thought there's absolutely no way that I could do that. But here I was, 270 pounds. I had dieted for close to 3 decades. And I would be on a weight loss roller coaster up and down. And I realized I was in a lot of pain. My knee was in excruciating pain every day. Just to walk short distances was getting difficult. I'd snore every night, waking up my husband. My back hurt. I knew that diabetes was just waiting around the corner for me. And so I finally gave Bright Line Eating a chance. My friend Lori told me to do 2 things: read the book and get in the group. At that time, she suggested We Eat Bright with Lines, which is still going strong. It's a private group. There are many private groups, including Starting Out Bright, which is associated with these Zoom chats. I got in that group and I just sat and watched amazing transformations happening before my very eyes. People losing weight, people reversing their symptoms of diabetes, blood pressure, all kinds of things. It was like miracles were happening right before my very eyes. And I got, in my spirit, I felt hope that I hadn't felt for a long time. And I promised myself that if I lasted 1 year with Bright Line Eating, I would do what my friend Lori did. I would post on my Facebook page and I'd help anybody I could. The year came up July 2020, and I'm getting ready to post. And I'm a Christian. I felt God say, Noreen, you can do more than that. You could connect people. Those who you saw so inspirational in the group, you could connect with those who needed help and hope. And so that's how the Zooms were born. And one by one, we've had people come in and take one for the team. And what's really great is people also get suggested to me. That's how I found Melodie today, by suggestion by more than one person. And Melodie has a Instagram group. We'll hear an Instagram page, I should say, _bright_Melodie. And it's in the
slideshow too that was there if you are watching this by YouTube. So I got a hold of Melodie and she said yes. So welcome, Melodie.
Hi, thanks for having me, Noreen. This is just such a cool forum. You're doing amazing work for getting out all the information people need on how to, quit sugar and flour. It's so important. So, thank you for volunteering all your
Oh,
hours that you
you're
do this. And
welcome.
I've
And
just spoken to you for the last few weeks for many hours. So this is a lot of time.
well,
Thank you.
thank you. And we talked, this past week, and it was great getting to know each other. And now this wonderful forum, as you said, now others can get to know a little bit more about you, who they see in a public way on Instagram. But now to hear kind of the heart and soul of what the Melodie is, who does all that work on Instagram. So
Mhm.
I talked a little bit about my starting Bright Line Eating, but would you please just go back as far as you want, how this got started, your weight or whatever. Take it from where you want to go to
Yeah,
introduce
thank
yourself.
you. I appreciate it. Yeah. So as far as my weight, I've struggled with my weight all of my life. I was a 10-pound baby and things didn't change after that. So I have always been a good 10, 20 plus pounds over my peers growing up. Um, and I noticed at an early age, my brain worked quite differently than my peers, right? Or my sister, who was of normal weight. She would eat something and she would leave half of it and just like she was done and she'd walk away from that, not my food. I was like, you forgot like half your food. Why aren't you finishing it? And it did not even like register to me that some people really don't just get triggered the same way and they don't just crave delicious food and want to eat it all. So it started early where I could tell I had an inappropriate relationship with food. Like food and I were not gelling, right? I just wanted the processed food. I wanted the sugary food. So I was young and I would like steal food from the cupboard. I would hide it. It became a power struggle between me and my parents. They were trying to control my weight, yet I was trying to, want to be the same as my sister. Why can't I eat what everybody else eats? And it was just a clash. So, I mean, it started escalating and my weight kept going up and up. Um, I remember doing Weight Watchers like in third grade and Jenny Craig. I remember bringing my prepared food to like recess where all my peers are eating normal food. I'd eat this package like chemical crap, right? That they give you at Jenny Craig, right? I shouldn't say anything about Jenny Craig. I'm just saying it was not like the best healthy whole foods, right? And so it just kind of escalated through the years, kind of packing on, more weight, and never really fully getting a grasp on it. I would do the same thing everybody else does, right? You start a program, you get excited about it, you lose the weight, and then something gets you off track. And then you're off the program. Oh, that didn't work. And then you gain the weight back and then some, right? And it just continues with the multiple programs. So, I mean, that's just been my struggle through my life. And so I got to 320 pounds. I mean, that was the highest my weight went. So it's been quite a roller coaster. And that was probably after college when I just got to my highest. And at that point, I thought, okay, I got to do something drastic. This dieting's not working. So I had a gastric bypass. So I had the surgery, lost, and this was maybe 13 years ago, lost like 120 pounds, got down to under 200 pounds. And I thought, this is it. Yay, I've solved my eating issues. Done. I can be normal like everybody else again. Yay, solved it. Right. And so it worked for a minute, right? Like, so, I'm like, I was down to under 200 pounds was a healthy-ish
Right.
weight. And then, from there, things just kind of escalated, right? You gain on another 10 pounds for something else. The thing with me was it didn't stop my snacking, right? I was a snacker and that was my problem. So I really, you can eat your way back to a bigger stomach. You can stretch your stomach back again. If you don't control what you're eating, when you're eating it, how much you're eating it, it was just a matter of time before weight started to creep back.
So
And
you
that's
would
what
say
happened.
that, so you would say that you really snacked your way back up.
I stacked my weight back up.
You
Right.
lost the 120 quite quickly though, and then
Yeah.
you got
Yeah. It came off pretty quick. I got down in just a handful of months. It felt like it was very quick. Right. Um, And then I felt good in that body. I was like, okay, I'm still curvy, but whatever, I got this. This is way better than where I was.
Right.
But then just slowly with life going on, having a pregnancy, stopping nursing, like relationship issues, like all the things
Right.
that kind of bring it on again, it just slowly creeped up. And then I got to a place, it's been a year and a half now where I went, okay, like time out. We're almost at I was 286 pounds. I'm getting close to 320 again. Like I'm redoing like the whole surgery. I had a surgery to correct this. And I had to do something drastic.
And you were saying the other day that you had the incident coming back from a trip. And I totally related with you on that. If you want to share that.
Yes. Yeah. So back in, January 2020, one of my Facebook friends had posted that she found this program and it was so fantastic. And she's lost 70 pounds. She's been on maintenance for a year. She's in her, bright body. She has no food chatter. And what is this? Right. So I looked it up and Bright Line Eating. I'm like, oh my gosh, this sounds great. And then I read about what you need to do. And I went, no sugar. That means like coffee. I can't have my Truvia. I can't have my sweeteners. I can't have, creamer, forget it. So I kind of let that go. I've been planted a seed. A year later, my health is getting worse. Things are getting worse. And the incident you brought up is totally what happened. So I went on a girls' trip, came back, and my seatbelt didn't fit. Its seatbelt did not fit. And I'd always had fears of flying. And it wasn't because I'm like scared of planes or have anxiety around that. I had anxiety about not being able to fit into any seat that might be given to me or the space that you take up, right? We're told to be smaller, to have less space as females. We're supposed to not take up space. And here I was taking up the space of the person next to me, and all of that just brought up so many fears. So I hated flying, didn't like going anywhere. Still did because I like to have fun, but it was a fear of mine. So this trip, I came back and having a great trip. It was lovely with my friends, came back by myself and I didn't fit in the seat. And I went, oh my gosh, I have to ask for an extender. I've never had to do that. And I went, I don't even want to ask. Like I had so much shame around that. And so I didn't. I sat there, sacrificed my own safety and went, no, I'm not going to ask anyone for a seatbelt extender. I'm too ashamed. So I like put a jacket on me, hid my like seatbelt falling off of me. And I got through my trip and I got back and I went, this is not okay. Like I am like, my safety is important. I'm important. Like I need to either advocate for myself better or I need to do something drastic because I got to be able to fit in a standard size seat.
Yeah. I had the same thing happen that, I tucked the seatbelt underneath as far as it could go. And there was no way. I was just hoping no one would ask.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to talk about it. And it just was this feeling that stayed with me the entire trip. So when you said that, I could just feel it so much.
Yeah.
It was so that was probably a game changer too for you to maybe give another listen to what your friend had posted, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that was another little pebble being thrown at me like, Melodie, listen to this. And then, of course, my friend was again posting all these great things. She was in Hawaii. She looked fantastic. I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. What is she doing again? And I went back through her whole Facebook page, like streamed through it. I was like, what was that program? And I found it, like even snapshot it. So I had it in my like records to remember what it was. I looked it up again. I was like, So then I was it was getting closer. I was getting closer. And then I got another pebble. It was like a job posting on my email about Bright Line Eating was looking for a therapist, and I work in the mental health field. And so I was like, why would an eating program look for a therapist? And I was like, what is that program? And I looked onto it and I was like, oh, Bright Line Eating. I'm like, oh, that's what Liz is doing. I was like, okay. All right, let me check it out. So I went on there and I think I was at my low at that moment. And that was May of last year. And I went like, there's a 14-day challenge. What's $14? I can do it. I'm going to try. So I just went, I'm in. Did the 14-day challenge, really enjoyed it. I thought, I can do this. Okay. So I kind of weaned off the coffee. At least the creamer. I kept the coffee, but I went from like, the nut pods to like the half and half. And then I was like, I don't want to use my protein and waste it. I want to eat my protein. So I finally went black coffee, and I haven't gone back. I love black coffee. But then I just, I did the boot camp, and from there it just clicked. Like, I feel like the science made sense. I finally it felt like relief. It felt like, oh my gosh, I'm being seen and heard. Like, this makes sense to me. Like, my brain's been taken over. Like, it's not about, willpower and self-control, because I'm very controlled in my life. I have a career. I've gone to college. I've done all the things. I've got this, I care about myself. I've got a family. I've got friends. And, but this is the piece of my life I could not get together, but it made sense. My brain was hijacked. It was like taken over. And it was all this processed stuff that I'd been eating. Most of it was sugar sweeteners, because I thought it was healthy, and I thought I was doing something good for myself, and all the protein bars and the shakes. And I was doing those all the time because this is healthy. They say eat protein bars. It's protein.
And, I looked it up because you were saying that you would tuck Truvia or whatever in your pocket, like seriously. And that's really common. Stevia is 100 to 300 times sweeter than sugar. And Truvia is 200 or 400 times sweeter than sugar. Yeah. So how can we not be hijacked if we're consuming these artificial sweeteners? And as Susan says in the book, it actually starts another mechanism that the sweetener is not really delivering the goods, but our body and mind is remembering, hey, you promised a sweet thing. We're going to go get it.
Right. It's amazing. Like, I thought that and the thing that frustrates me so much about, like, the food industry is this is sold as like health food. Like, it's safe for diabetics. You're pregnant. You can have this. Like, it's meant to be healthy. And I was like, I'm eating healthy food, but I'm not getting any healthier. Right. But you're right. It's amazing what it can do.
So you said the other day that you just felt in yourself acceptance for the first time, like from even as a child, like accepting that you are never going to have your sister's brain or, your classmate's brain. You're not going to, because you are you. And the more that we eat this stuff, the more that it does change our brains, I think, too.
I think if anyone listening can take anything from this, is that, accepting your body and your brain for what it can give you and what it can't. And I was fighting it for so long, really trying to be like my sister, who could eat moderately and still have like a healthy body. My friends who can eat like all the junk and still like, burn it off at the gym. Right. I was those people. I couldn't do that. And I fought that for so many years. And I finally went, I can't keep fighting this. My body is suffering. I'm feeding it poison to me. It's poison. Like, the processed food is poison to my brain. It's really hijacking my brain, and it's taking it over. And it's telling me something, right, through my weight, through the inflammation, through my knees hurting, through all of the pain, that it's too much. Like, stop. Like, it's too much. And I had to really shift my thinking on, and what does it need to build health? What do I need to build my body, to give my body what it needs for nutrition and for health? And I had to really change that. And I think that the acceptance of being a person who can't eat sugar and flour like everybody else is something I've had to just breathe in. And who really talked about this? And I thought it was beautiful. Dr. Joy, she's fantastic. And she brought this up in her Stop Sugar Summit that was just recently, a few weeks ago. And she did this really great speech. And one of the things that stuck with me was her analogy of, a cucumber and a pickle. And we're all cucumbers until we get introduced to our substance. It could be drugs, it could be whatever your thing is that hijacks your brain. And you become a pickle. And you can't go back to being a cucumber. So you start as a cucumber. Did I say that right? Start as a cucumber, and then you get hijacked and you turn into a pickle. Pickles cannot be cucumbers. You can't go backwards. It is what it is. You're a food addict, right? Your brain is hijacked. Like, you have to kind of sit back, accept that, It's okay to be a pickle. I have a lovely life as a pickle. There's lovely food I could still eat as a pickle, but I can't go back to being hijacked, right? I can't be a cucumber anymore. It's too late.
Once you accept that, I think, I mean, the beautiful part, and you mentioned, the lovely food, we have to get into that
Yeah.
because the first thing when I'm saying to you, I checked out your Instagram account and I'm seeing this colorful food and all this stuff. And right away you jumped on that, why you choose colorful food. And why is that?
Yeah. So, when I got into this like health journey, this started a lot of, process of research for me. So I started getting on Instagram, started researching like, if I'm not eating this food, what can I eat? And trying to learn how to feed my body what it's needing, right? Feed my brain what it's needing. And I got into a lot of these health accounts. And, Dr. William Lee is one of the doctors that is fantastic. And he talks about, he has a book, How to Eat, How to Beat Disease. And it's really about the food that you eat, how it can nourish you and can actually, help with inflammation. It can like help cure cancer, like help with Alzheimer's. There's like all this kind of research that's going into it. And I'm like, it blows my mind that the same food that I feel was poison to me, that, all the processed food that I was eating, that was hijacking my brain and causing me all this inflammation and problems, I can actually fuel it with something that can actually heal me. Like food can hurt you and it can heal you. Like it is amazing. It can do both. So I'm trying to like, well, what food can heal me? So there's all these really cool, tips about what to do. So what I do is I don't, I'm not a research person. I'm not a scientist, but what I do when I go grocery shopping, I just look for the most colorful food I can eat. Right. So my food, I try to have a rainbow in it, and not because it's pretty. I mean, like I love to look at rainbows and it's beautiful food. And I like to have like the pleasure of looking at pretty food, but it's really about the phytonutrients, right? It's about those chemicals that are in the food that makes it that color and gives it the distinct flavor. All of those are the things that can help fuel you in a different way and heal you in a different way. So every color has a different strategy on what it could potentially be doing to help. So that's why I just try to make it a beautiful rainbow. So if I go grocery shopping, I look at, okay, I'm getting all the peppers and all the colors. I'm getting, I need a little purple in my life. How about some beets? Or I'm trying to find things that could give me as much nutrients as possible and is really tasty, like it's good food. But I just like to explore different fruits, different vegetables, just to try new things to add that kind of color to my food, but it's giving me more nutrition. It's giving me those vitamins that come in all the things that my body needs to heal. So that's how I'm looking at food now. It's a totally different way.
Is there one of the authors or one of the books that really talks about that? Is that?
Yeah. So William Lee does a book about how to beat disease.
Okay.
Yeah.
So William Lee is Eat to Beat Disease, and the book is listed too. Are there any others that you kind of went down that trail? What are other sources that you look to expand on the no sugar, no flour?
Yeah. Yeah. So, being on Instagram has been really cool and eye-opening because I'm really just finding all these really interesting researchers and scientists and these medical professionals that are putting their time and effort, their careers in this area of development. And it's really blowing up. And I think it's an exciting area. This, like looking at food, food addiction is starting to take off. And people, I think everybody can agree. They all agree on different ways to do this, but they all agree sugar needs to be eliminated from our diet. And we are consuming too much sugar as people. And sugar isn't everything, and we need to stop that. They all have different avenues after that on how to do it, right? But yeah, so I'm finding all these really great researchers, and there's so many really cool people that I've been following. But some of the things I've found are the biohacks that we've talked about, and some of the authors who have different strategies on how to improve your health. And there's a couple of those. Did you want to talk about those now?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So these are just, biohacks are like small lifestyle changes that you can make in your life that could possibly like help improve your health. So these are things that I've just picked up in like my little research and just playing on Instagram and reading these books because they're they're fascinating. And I'm trying to do as much as I can now, with what I have to improve my health, right? So I have four. Well, one we talked about was the phytonutrients, right? So that's one. So eating all the colorful fruits and vegetables we can, all those things are going to give us nutrients to help heal our bodies and really can help kind of cure diseases, right? So that's one. Also, one of the main ones I've been doing is looking at intermittent fasting, right? So it's really about having time restriction, eating windows. So the way I do it is I do a 10 o'clock breakfast, a 2 o'clock lunch, and a 6 o'clock dinner. And I give myself some kindness around those times. Like if I'm at work, I can't eat till 10:30. That's when I eat. If I'm hungry at 9, I eat at 9. This isn't like every day, but this is kind of like the window I choose for eating. For me, it helps to eat in smaller periods too, with 4 hours in between, because I don't get as hungry. I really don't get hungry very often. And if I do, it's about time to eat a meal. So it helps me with the eating window being smaller between meals, but also helps you digest your food. Like the longer you can go, without eating or snacking, the better off your body's going to be, because you're tapping into your food storage, right? Your fat storage for energy. So these authors, and Jason Fung is one of the big ones. He wrote the Obesity Code. He has a lot of work out there for intermittent fasting and looking at time restricted eating and doing fasting periods, a day of fasting, if that's how you do it. I can't go a day without food, but maybe if people can do that, good for them. So there's a lot of positive things that you can get from doing a fasting window. It helps with weight loss, helps improve blood pressure. It helps with energy, like slows the aging process. Like there's all sorts of things that it can be helpful for. And so, we're lucky we have a leg above other people because we don't snack, right? So people who like snack at 8 o'clock at night, their eating window is now later and later. So we don't do that. So we have a nice eating period that goes until our breakfast. So I just push my eating window out a little bit. So time restriction.
When you do intermittent fasting, does that include not drinking like tea or anything like that too?
Yeah. So what they say is that any kind of clear liquids is fine, or even like coffee is fine. So what I do is I wake up in the morning, and my second biohack is coming up right now. I do my electrolytes and my magnesium supplement, right? So I take my magnesium supplement, the Calm supplement, stir that up. I put some electrolytes in there. I have a liquid one that I like, and that gives me energy. So that's the first thing that I put in my body. As long as something doesn't have any calories, then you're okay. I think that's what they say. There's people who say different things about that. From what I can tell, and from what they say, is you can have tea, no, cream or sugar, obviously, coffee black, and that's still part of your fasting period. So I do my electrolyte first thing in the morning before I work out. And then I have my coffee later in the morning, and then I eat at 10. So for me, that kind of tides me over.
I'm sorry, is there a brand in case somebody's listening by podcast for?
Yeah. So so this is the one I use. This is the one I just found on Amazon, because it's a no calorie, no sugar, no flavor.
And it's called
unflavored
Highlight, Hilyte. Okay. And so you just put a couple drops in some water.
Yeah. It tells you how much it has it's electrolyte. So it has sodium. It tastes like salt, right? Yeah. I mean, you can do the same thing with some pink Himalayan sea salt, right? But this is, it has all the things you need: the zinc, the magnesium, the sodium, the potassium. And it really does give me that energy. So the person who talks about this, and if people want to kind of do more research on it, there's a book called The Salt Fix by Dr. James D. And he's got a long last name, so I'm not sure anybody knows how to say it. And then he also has a book called Obesity Fix that just came out. But his big thing is trying to get the right amount of salt in our diets. And because we're usually pretty, deficient in magnesium and sodium. So for me, it gives me energy.
Just recently, I've been hearing about a salt called Redmond salt.
I have that too.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Talk about that. But I've heard that it's like got extra minerals in it that are actually taken out of other salts, such as boron, which sounds like horrible to ingest, but it actually does a lot of good for you.
Right.
Including it, I think it adds like testosterone for
Oh,
people, and men and
uh-huh.
women both need that. So it's really quite
Right.
interesting. I just happened to read that the other day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
And it's
another
the
idea.
same. Right. They have all sorts of ones. They have other ones too that are flavored salt. So they've got onion salt. They've got seasoned salt, and I think I also have garlic salt by them. It came with the pack, so I heard the same thing. I thought, how cool! I the salt I heard when Susie Pierce Thompson talked about sugar being in the salt. I went, hey, hold up, hold up. I don't want any sugar in my salt. Like, so not that
Right.
you can taste it and it's such a small amount, but this is also giving you that mineral that's been taken out. It's
Right.
salt that's real salt. Yeah.
That Redmond salt, I think when I was reading about it, it's supposed to help your prostate for a man. That
Mm.
there's something about this boron. I don't know. It
Hmm.
takes more research, but since we're on
Yeah,
the
it's
subject,
interesting.
you can do your own research. But I just happened to read about it the other day. But anyway, so those are cool. You have the intermittent fasting. You have electrolytes
Electrolytes,
in the morning. You do your magnesium, which is unflavored, right?
right?
And that's
Right.
calm. Okay.
Yeah, and that
We got our
helps.
phytonutrients. What else you got?
So the last one that I do is really about the order you eat your food, right? So this is about like glucose levels. So, typically somebody eats something and it could be a starchy thing or a sugar, or for us, it's fruit. And your glucose level spikes, right? We don't want our glucose levels to spike. We want to have a small spike, because the more you spike, the more problems we have with aging. It increases cravings. There's all these kinds of problems with having your glucose spike, fatigue, mood, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
So the idea is trying not to have a glucose spike. And there's there's a researcher. Her name's Jessie, and her last name is also very difficult. She's called the Glucose Goddess on Instagram. I don't know if anybody knows about her, but she's great. I follow her. She's a biochemist. So she's wrote a book called The Glucose Revolution. And she really talks about how to eat your food in what order. So she says, eat your vegetables first, then your protein, then your fat, then your starchy carb, like potatoes, rice, whatever, and then your fruit. So that she really talks about putting clothes on your carbs, putting clothes on your fruit. So don't eat just your fruit first or eat something alone. You really want to eat the right food together. So if I have a meal, and I just kind of play with this, isn't something for most of what we do, my food's together. I'm not going to eat it all separately. But say I have chicken and roasted vegetables. I'm on maintenance right now, so I have rice, and I'm going to have and say you have fruit, or say you don't have rice and you have fruit. And say I have avocado for fat. So I would eat my I'd eat my vegetables first, and then I would eat my chicken. And it's coating your stomach. It's coating that the vegetable is helping to coat all of that, right? And then I eat my starchy vegetable, the fat and the starchy vegetable, and then the fruit, right? And so your fruit's not going in alone. And she shows these really cool graphs, because it'll be somebody who eats, like, say, pasta, and then or say strawberries, and you've got a spike that looks like that. You eat something before that, a salad before your pasta. The spike goes like this with the same food. So if you just ate vegetables before you ate the same pasta, and the spike is a lot more stable. So that's just a little biohack. If you're eating your food in a certain way, eat your veggies first.
It's
Your mom was
certainly
right.
interesting to think about. And I know from being when I was gestational diabetic, they always said if you're going to have a carb, eat a protein at the same time. And it kind of goes along with that. Don't just
Same
have
idea. Yeah.
carb that's going to blow up, your glucose and
Right.
the spike. So it makes sense. It got my attention when you
Yeah.
were talking about that.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Who else did we talk about? I know there was another book that you mentioned, and It is, let's see, you have glucose.
Mark Hyman.
Yes. Who is that?
So Mark Hyman's, he's one of these functional medicine doctors. He's fantastic. If anyone's on Instagram, follow Mark Hyman. But he just was I think he was just in Washington, D.C., or just is there right now, really trying to advocate for nutritional changes, right? He's a fantastic doctor. He's got a lot of books. He's a handful of books. And he's coming out with one, or I don't know if it's just out now or it's coming out now, really about aging. Like it's about how to eat to prevent your body aging internally, right? And it's really about the food we're eating. Right. It's really about food we're eating. So he's fantastic. If anyone wants more information, Mark Hyman, he's on Instagram, Dr. Mark Hyman. And yeah, he's one of my favorite health gurus that I follow, because he's pretty brilliant.
Today I had someone ask a question for you, and I want to ask you that. You said earlier that you're in the mental health field.
Mm-hmm.
And right. So this kind of goes hand in hand. How have you approached doing your inner work? Have you taken steps to go deeper as to why, you felt like you were so different, or did you just accept it and just move on? What have you done? Because you've gone through a lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, to do a gastric bypass in your early 30s, maybe?
It was my 30s, yeah.
And then, see yourself gain the weight. I mean, that couldn't have been fun.
No. And it kind of came on slowly. So it's kind of like it just snuck up on me, like, oh my gosh, these pants don't fit. Oh, I'll get some new pants. They're old anyways. And they just kind of snuck up on me, or I could justify it here and there. But you have to look at it that was a big deal, right? I've gained a lot of weight back. And the last thing I want is to gain any weight again, right? Because, we're all trying to get it off, keep it off. That's why this program is, so everybody is looking at it, right? Because people have success with keeping it off. And I think for me, I didn't address my major issue, which was the snacking and why I'm eating, right? The moods that I had, whether it be, I didn't just eat when I was sad, because I'm a pretty happy person. So I ate when I was sad, I was bored, I was lonely, I ate for comfort, I ate because, it was a social thing to do. I ate. And for me, I got lit up at every time, right? So for me, I had to really take a step back and go kind of, why am I eating? And this plan, not letting you kind of snack, is my most important line. For me, that's the line I can never cross. I will never cross that one, because that's the one that trips me up, right? Because I now know I'm a snacker, and that's how you can gain your weight back, and it happens in a blink. So what's different about me now, and as far as the work that I've done, I think looking at why I'm eating and why I'm hungry and what that's about, right? What am I trying to fill? And what do I need to do to fill that in another way? For me, it's distraction helps, finding something to distract me, to do something else to fill my time that's not eating, right? I also had to change my behaviors and change kind of the patterns that I was doing, right? So I was, I had people that I would eat with that I had to really kind of stop, right? And let them know kind of where I'm at and how I'm eating now. So I think coming out of the closet has been helpful, right? Telling everybody I am a person who doesn't eat flour and sugar, and that's what I'm doing. That's who I am. It's my identity now. Was a shift I never had. I just was trying to fix something without doing anything different, right? I just wanted a surgery to fix it. It's I wanted the diet pill that was going to solve everything. I wanted the thing. Without doing any of the work of why am I eating so much? What is that about? Right. And so I've had to kind of look at that and really look at, and stop myself and really try to identify as a different type of person. This has been a real identity change for me, right? Being a person who doesn't eat flour and sugar is my new identity. That's who I am now. I'm not looking back. This is who I am. This is my path forward to have my optimal health. So I've had to really kind of and I did a lot of journaling. I'm doing a lot of like, what does this mean kind of stuff. And that's been helpful. Yeah.
And you said when we talked the other day, and you've said it a few times tonight about planting seeds, that every time that we go into a restaurant and ask for something with no sugar, no flour, that's got to plant a seed because it's educating in a way. I mean, really. I mean, anytime that you advocate for yourself that, I don't eat that, or, somebody might have made you their favorite dish, your favorite dish. And it's hard because these are people you love many times, right, and yet you're still advocating for yourself. It's really a difficult thing to do. So it seems so interesting to say, we're almost talking about like, if you imagine a different kind of substance abuse, where like, yeah, you can't hang out with those people. Well, sometimes for this, it's the same thing. It's really difficult at times,
Right.
I wonder, somebody asked a question. Well, first of all, talking about the inner work, do you do any parts work?
I haven't gotten into the parts work world. I that was in the Resume book, and I was fascinated by it, but I haven't done any parts work myself. Okay. Yeah, I haven't.
But you are in the mental health field, so you
probably.
Well, we did talk about the ants part, though. That you do talk about ants. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Right. So ants, this is a cognitive behavioral therapy kind of technique, right? So ants are automatic negative thoughts. So automatic negative thoughts are those thoughts that kind of come up in your thinking, right? That just kind of flood your head, and you can't stop your thoughts. They just come on in, but you can do something about the thoughts, right? And that's what this work is about. So the ants, which I think is a really cool analogy, because they're just like thoughts. Like, you got an ant or two, you just kind of brush them off. It's just an ant. What's the big deal, right? But when they come in droves, like my house was covered in ants a few weeks ago, you get your attention. Like, they take over. And the same thing with our thoughts. Like, when you get these negative thoughts, they consume you and they just come in droves, right? And in Bright Line Eating, I think often we get in a place where something perks up, right? Something sets us off path. I've had 100 diets in my life, something to set me off, and then I get off of it, right? So I have to like address what's going up in my thinking, because I'm not getting off this, right? This is what I'm doing. So when I get a negative thought, and it could be like, say if somebody has a bite of not my food, the thing that comes up for people is like, oh my gosh, I'm a failure. I feel hopeless. Like, I can't believe I did that. Like, I'm never going to amount to anything. I'm always going to be overweight. I'm never going to be successful. And then there you go. You're off your plan, right? And then those ants are taking over. So what we try to do is really try to train people to think differently, right? And try to retrain your brain to think in a different way. So we want to challenge the thought. So when we have those thoughts, we really want to look at those and get curious about them. Like, what's going up? You really feel you're a failure because you had a bite of not my food? Well, are you a failure? And really try to look at this in a different, more logical way, right? And a good way to do this is really to think about it in a different perspective. Like, if your best friend was coming to you and saying, I had a bite of not my food. Oh my gosh, I'm awful. I broke my lines. I have to report to my Gideon games. I feel awful. I'm never going to succeed at this plan. What would you tell him or her? Like, if they came to you and felt hopeless like that, what would you say? Right? And really question yourself like that. Like, of course, you're going to be loving and caring to your best friend. And you're going to be like, it's okay. You're human. You made a mistake. You're off your plan. You can just get right back on. You're all right. You didn't gain 100 pounds from like a bite. You're okay. You can rethink this, right? And we're really trying to like challenge those thoughts, and how do we help to change that thought into a different kind of thought? Like, you got this. You're unstoppable. You've lost 50 pounds so far. You could keep going. You had one bite. Don't let that get you down, right? So it's retraining your brain to kind of look at those ants and really try to stomp them out when they start to come up. And the more you practice it, the better you get at it. So once you kind of notice that pesky ant that keeps coming back, right? Like, that thought of like, oh my gosh, I suck. I'm off plan. I'm never going to succeed at this. You go, oh, Melody, there you again. You just did that ant again. That ant came back. All right. And I remember what I was thinking last time. Okay, I had to give myself peace and love and forgiveness. I need to really just take it all in and know that I'm going to be okay. And really try to help change some of that thought. Right.
Yeah.
So it's about catching it, when before they get too far. And the more you practice it, the more you question that, the better you get at it.
Yeah, recognizing it in the first place. I really like that. Just like recognizing what's going on. It's a catchy, the ants and the whole analogy of like a lot, you're going crazy with a lot of ants. And the same thing with all the negative thoughts. So it really is a great analogy for that. I have to ask you, somebody starts an Instagram and they don't expect that they're going to have thousands of followers, right? What brought you into starting your Instagram, or did you just want to share recipes? Because you're doing so much more. You're adding so much fun. I watched some of the then and now pictures. It just gives so much hope in a fun way on some of your reels. Just a lot of things like that. So how did that start? And, what have you found by keeping it going? Because it takes effort to keep it going.
Yeah, yeah. I started it and I wanted to keep it separate from like my family account, like the one that's linked to my Facebook account. Like I wanted to have a safe place where I could just put my food, put my thoughts, and be out there with people in the community who know what this is like, right? Who have been there, who have like walked the walk, like they get it, like people get it. And they're just loving and accepting. And I think that's the best thing about this community is people are fantastic here because they get it, they understand, they're loving, they're compassionate and forgiving. So I wanted a community like that. So I started my own account just to be separate from my regular friends and family, right? A little tissue, hold on a second. My allergies. And so I wanted to have something that was a safe space for me. And it was just really for me to, post my food. I wanted somewhere that I could like safely go, this is what I ate today. And I wanted a place where I can get kind of some other food ideas. And that's kind of how it started for me was just, a food journaling. It was like, this is what I've eaten today. And this is kind of, this is what I like. And then I started looking at everybody else's page. And the more we kind of did that, the more I kind of gather this kind of community of people that, Deb's on here, we chat, and there's people in here who are a part of this community. We support each other. Like, not just like, hey, your food looks great. Oh, I can't wait to try that. And tag me when you try it. It's more than that. It's more like, really supporting each other and giving each other encouragement. So it kind of grew into something that felt good, like a place where I could go and just kind of talk to these bright people and everybody gets it. Like they all kind of understand. Right.
I think it's fantastic. Who could have ever imagined that there would be, as you say, so many people who get it? I mean, when I first started seeing transformation pictures, I'm like, you're really going to put your pictures out there? This is amazing. It gave me so much hope.
Yeah.
The first time that I did, I think I only lost 15 pounds at the time. And I'm like, you can't see the difference, but I can in my mind. And they're like, are you kidding me? We can see it. That's like, again, so much, enthusiasm and camaraderie with each other. I can't believe this time. It's kind of ticking away.
Yeah.
What have you found has been the non-scale victories? You said that when you got started, that had to be, you had said the other day, you were miserable. What did miserable mean to you? Was your health affected at that time, or was it just that you've gained a lot of weight at that point? And then what does that mean now with non-scale victories?
Yeah, I mean, this is my favorite part, right? I mean, the non-scale victories is what I'm in for. But what was kind of cool was in the 14-day challenge, Susan Pierce Thompson talked about, hey, record yourself about your whys, right? So I did a recording of myself and I was talking about my whys. And it's interesting to look back on it now. It's like, oh my goodness. And I did a little reel about that, like where I was like on my first day and like, and how I just didn't have any hope. I just was hopeless. I tried so many diets. I felt so discouraged. And it was almost very uncomfortable to put myself out there again and do another diet to possibly get a crash again and feel like I again am a failure. Like it was scary for me to put myself out there again and to do another thing. And so, at that time, I was feeling pretty miserable. Physically, my knees are horrible. Going upstairs, I live in a 2-story house, going upstairs was painful. I didn't want to have to get something upstairs because they'd be like, oh, you need a jacket? Oh, well, that's all right. We don't need a jacket. It's like, I didn't want to go upstairs to go get the jacket. My knees were killing me. Like my sleep, because my body would just kind of like push my neck. I wasn't sleeping well. I was just inflamed and I didn't realize that's what it was. It was the sugar and like the processed food. My body like was puffy. Like it actually had like an indentation. I was like puffy in my skin. So there was all these things that, really cleared up. And within the first 20 pounds, I was like, oh, whoa, I felt a difference. And I think that's the thing, if I could give anybody kind of hope here, is I didn't believe it. Like, I didn't believe that this was going to work. I had to do behaviors before I could see the solution, right? I didn't have the feeling or the thoughts that weren't coming. I was like, this is not going to work. Like, this is another thing, right? I just had to do. And I just had to put the actions first. The thoughts changed, the feelings changed after I kept going, right? I had to put one foot in front of the other. So the behaviors have to start. You have to change your behaviors. You're not going to believe it's going to work. You're not going to believe you're going to be one of those people you see, though you're not that special. Like everybody else is losing weight. You're not that special. You're not going to. Like, no, you're going to. You're not that special, right? Yeah. So I had to just change my actions, and I started to believe it later, right? And I think my biggest non-scale victory is having confidence, and having more confidence, not just in my health now. I have more confidence in all these areas of my life. Like, I'm starting to tackle other things. Like, now I'm waking up every morning at 5:30 to do strength training. Like, who does that? I am not a morning person. I would never have done this a year ago, but now I want to have like strong muscles. I'm trying to build like strength. I want to have a body that's not weak. I want to feel strong.
And tell how you're doing that, because that's pretty unique too.
Yeah. But I feel all these successes will add up, but you have to start with one thing and get confidence around that. And then you can take another thing and get confidence around that. And they add up, and it will add up.
But I mean, on your trainer, you do it virtually, correct?
Yes. So he's like in Salt Lake City. He's like in Utah. So it's a virtual session. He does all of these exercises. I see the exercises. My husband records me. I record him. And then we submit it to him. And then he'll go through and critique it and kind of like, good job on this. Hey, you could do this next time. We do push day, we do pull day, and we do leg day, and we rotate it. And I do it every single day. I don't take a day off. Unless like we're hurt or there's something going on. We've taken one day off in 2 months and a handful in like a week or two, because we're just being consistent. Like, I don't want to get in the morning. He motivates me, and I did the same thing for him.
For those who are listening on podcasts, what is that virtual trainer? Because I know he's on Instagram. So
yeah, it's out. Right. It's Kurt. His first name is Kurt, Kurt, and MetaFit is MetaFit. Yeah. So he's a virtual trainer. He works with a handful of bright line eaters. There's a few of us out there. Dr. Laura, if people know her, she works in a business partnership with him. And so that's how I found out about him. And he's great, super supportive. And I really, 6:25 p.m. My phone's gone. And he's like, he's a great trainer. We're super lucky to have him.
So there's a question here from Deb. Has your body image caught up to your weight loss? Are they in sync in your mind? You've lost a lot of weight in a very short time.
Yeah, it's 17 pounds, 100 something pounds, 17 pounds, I think. Yeah, there's That's a good question, because sometimes I look at the mirror, I'm like, oh my God, who's that? Like it trips me out. I was like, no. Or I put on clothes that are like teeny. I was like, there's no way that's going to fit. This looks like it's for my son. Like, but it stretches and it fits me. Right. So yeah, there's moments that I'm just like, this can't be right. Because it did kind of go kind of quick. So it does feel a little trippy sometimes. Yeah. To feel kind of you're out of your body. Like, what body do I have? Because it really was not that long ago. I was, 117 pounds bigger, right? It's like crazy how fast you can lose it. But my brain hasn't totally caught up yet. I'm still trying on things. I'm like, there's no way this size is mine, and somehow it fits. And I'm just like,
when
wow.
Somebody compliments you, or is that kind of weird?
But I'm getting better at just accepting that, and kind of, because it does feel uncomfortable sometimes. But I'm trying to accept being never been like one to be like in the spotlight, right? I've never, like, I let my sister's very outgoing. I let her be in the spotlight. I'm kind of like a hanging back girl, but it's like I'm having a moment of spotlight, which is like, okay, I could handle this. I'm trying to gain a little confidence now, which has not really been something that has been easy for me. But it feels good. It does feel good to kind of get those compliments, and trying to kind of love and accept that and take it in. Right.
I feel that being in the community and being able to share our success, it kind of helps. It's almost like a buffer for when you do get a compliment.
Yeah.
For me personally, because you're used to seeing yourself show transformation. And so you start believing it a little bit more than if you never did. Right. Well, here we are, the last question. And it's this. If somebody was here listening, Melodie, and thank you so much for coming on, what would you say to them about giving this bright line eating a chance?
I would say, first, try to be loving and compassionate to yourself. And that is so hard. I think the people in this weight loss community, I think, have been really hard on themselves. I think we get beaten down by so many things, by so many rejections, so many losses, so much trauma. And I think taking a step back and just giving yourself some love and compassion, right? And just sitting with that and knowing you deserve better, and your body deserves healing, and you can get there and you can do it. And I love those mantras that, Bright Line Eating's so good with, like, we're unstoppable. And I have on my little necklace, I got it engraved. It says unstoppable with the BLE on it. And It's just a little reminder to me. Like, it's a reminder, like, no one can really see this. No one really knows it says unstoppable, but it's my own little reminder that I got this. I'm unstoppable. I'm unstoppable. And you could even put your hand on your chest and just go, I'm unstoppable. I got this.
That's, what? I think that those visuals help even in the moments when we may want to fall off, and to just hang on to something. Like, it's a visual that we have been unstoppable. I think even like getting something like that for a milestone is cool. I
got it for my 1 year.
I wondered if it was for that or the 100 pounds, because I'm thinking about it. I got to
do it. Go on Etsy. They're great. They'll make you whatever you need.
Well, any last words before we close?
Thank you, everybody who's, so awesome and supportive in this community, and keep on giving out the love to other people and holding out a hand for anybody who needs it. And again, really take a step back and just be caring and loving to yourself, right? We've all had journeys that have gotten us here. And now that I've read that book, it really made me think, like, this isn't all my fault, right? Like, we really have to step back and go, we're victims in some ways of this chemically processed food that's taking over our bodies. So just know your own individuality. Like, everybody's bodies are different, what they can and can't eat, right? Find out your thing and listen to it. Listen to your body. What does it need and what does it not need? And respect it, right? Yeah. And that's everybody's journey is different. Everybody, what they can and can't eat is going to be different. But to be respectful, right, of your body, of you, because you matter, you care, and you care about yourself, right?
Yeah. So great. Again, thank you so much, Melodie. And
Sure.
thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm going to close as I do each week. Good night. Stay bright. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Good night, everybody.
Goodbye.
So, Melodie, how would you
Yes,
like to play Three Question Thursday?
I would love to, Noreen.
Wonderful. I could not help when I saw your Instagram. How many times you take a trip to Trader Joe's? So I
that is
told
a
you I
weekly
got to
trip.
ask you about this, and I didn't get to it yet. So,
Yeah.
what do you get at Trader Joe's?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've done a few like little videos on those because there's so many fun, bright options at Trader Joe's. Not everybody has a Trader Joe's, so I feel bad for anybody who doesn't. I'm so sorry, but they are, and you can find a lot of those things at health food stores too. Trader
Yeah.
Joe's has a good way of like taking a product and remaking it theirs. They're kind of like copying products and remake it theirs, and they
Yeah.
do a great job. So yeah, oh, there's all sorts of fun things. And I have some videos on like my bright finds, so you can like check out more. But I have a couple different things if you want to like check them out.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was just raiding my freezer as to get a couple things to show you. So, one thing they do, which I think is kind of fun, is there's a lot of different options to wrap things in, right? So, we don't have the non-bread. Can I say bread? We don't eat bread. So we need to figure out how to hold a lot of things. So they have these jicama wraps. And if you tried those, I see some nods. The jicama wraps are really great. It's just thinly sliced jicama that they have in a little circle, and it's really crunchy. So it's like you can make tacos. So you put your meat, or you could do veggies, you could do shrimp, whatever you'd like in there, beans for your protein, add some grilled vegetables, wrap it up and eat it like a taco. And I feel like I'm not missing out. They're kind of fun. They're crunchy.
Right.
They can get a little moist. So I add like a little, someone gave me the idea of adding a little piece of tissue paper in there. So I add tissue paper there so it doesn't get as like soggy. But these are fun. Like we're doing steak tacos tonight. So I'm going to use those. But my husband doesn't do bright line eating, so he's got his shell, and I can do those, and I feel like I'm eating just like everybody else in my family.
That's like so nice. I'm the only one doing bright line eating here too, so I understand.
Yeah,
It's nice to
yeah,
know how to fit in.
right. Yeah, exactly. I think that's what my favorite food is. Stuff like that, where like a hot dog that I wrap in like a lettuce leaf, or a hamburger is like my favorite thing. I could eat hamburgers every week. Wrap that in another like romaine lettuce or some sort of lettuce leaf. And to me, I feel like it's just as good. I don't miss it. I don't miss the bun. This is another product that I just started using. They're kind of fun. They're these like egg wraps too. And I got this at Target. But Trader Joe's has a product like this, and they're egg whites. So egg whites, I don't know if everybody knows, but you can have so one egg is normally 2 ounces, and that's, one protein or half a protein. So you can have 4 ounces for one serving of egg whites. So it's a lot more quantity if you're a quantities person. So I just weigh this just like it's an egg white. So there's one of these for 1 ounce. So you can have 2 of these wraps for yeah, so it's kind of like using 1 egg. So they're kind of fun. You want to put, I put some sausage in there, some grilled vegetables, and wrap it up for like a breakfast taco or a breakfast burrito. And a lot of people use these. This is not Trader Joe's version. This is Outer Aisle. This is Trader Joe's copy. They copied Outer Aisle. These like sandwich thins. So these sandwich thins are really pretty. Like there's not a lot in them. It's mostly cauliflower. So it's cauliflower, but it has eggs in it and also milk, cheese. So we use it as a protein, right? So I use 2 for half a protein and 4 ounces of vegetables. That's what they had recommended for these before on our official, group. Somebody had asked. Since that group went away, I want to double check it, but I can't find it now. But I'm pretty sure that's how you would break it down. So 2 of them for 1 serving, and they're really tasty. I make these with this is like my pizza, right? So I put on like the pizza sauce, some vegetables, and I still have a half a protein serving, left over for cheese or whatever you want to put. So those are fun. You can get these in the freezer section, kind of like the Ezekiel bread where that is.
Yes.
And I get it Safeway. I got a bunch of these, freeze them. They last forever, but you can get those at Trader Joe's.
Okay. Well, those are some good finds, good
Mm-hmm.
ideas of how to wrap things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Question number 2. Do you have a favorite mantra that
I
you
think
use
the
all
un-
the time?
yeah, I mean, I think the unstoppable one, right? Like, so that we're unstoppable and we can do hard things. I don't know how many times I've gone back to the we can do hard things because I never believed that one, right? That was one of those yeah, right. Like I'm not one of those people, and I've failed at so many things. Like I can't lose 100 pounds. There's no way. But the more you start to do the actions, the more you start to kind of believe in yourself, right? And the more I go, I can do hard things. Like quitting sugar and flour is not easy when we live in a culture where it is everywhere. And all of my favorite like cultural things have to do with food. And I really have to, and I have a kid. I want to experience all those fun, like cultural things with him, like all of the Easter and like the
Right.
Thanksgiving and all the stuff. And I've, make the stuff, right? And I'm trying to look at things in a different way, right? So we can do hard things. I go to parties and I say no thank you to the hard things, right? We are unstoppable. It's amazing once you commit to something and you really show consistency what you can do. Like it's the more you do it, the more you gain confidence you can do it. But it definitely takes time before your thoughts and your feelings start to come around. It's really about action first. So the I am unstoppable, we can do hard things, or like I go back to that all the time.
When you go back, this is question 3. When you think about that Melodie putting that video together, that with your whys, what do you say to her today?
Yeah. That is a really good question because looking at that video and watching it, I was on the verge of tears. The whole video, I felt like I was just about to cry any second. And looking back at it, I just was so scared. I was so scared. Um, if I was to go back to her and talk to her, is to try to give her some strength and to go like, you can do this, right? And to tell her, just take it a day at a time, like a step at a time. You're going to do great things, but you're not going to believe it yet, but you will get there. And just be caring and loving to yourself in the process. When you fall, you're going to fall. We all are going to fall. How do I get myself up without, and brush myself off and keep on going is really what I would tell her is you're going to fall and it's okay. You're going to get back up and you're going to keep on going because you're important, you matter, and you can do hard things, right? I would go back and I would tell her and just give her a big hug and tell her thank you for everything that she's done, right? She's really taken a lot of punches in life and she has been there through the whole thing and given me, I've had this body that I felt trapped in. But she had the strength to start something really hard. She had the strength to pick herself up off the floor and to do the hard things and go up and down those stairs and
Yeah.
and really push herself to doing before believing, right? Just doing. So I would tell her, thank you. Thank you for being there. And thank you for, really having the strength and bravery to know you're worth it and really try.
Well, Melodie, I think that I would speak for many. I would say thank you to her too, because you are bringing so much joy to people by sharing of yourself at your Instagram. The food that you share, just this beautiful, colorful food. And now we understand why you go with the colors, the
Yeah,
phytonutrients. I mean, there's a
right.
purpose for it, not
Purpose.
just to look pretty, but that is, and it's beautiful and it's tasty. and you're so fun on there, the reels, and you give people hope. I want to tell that Melodie thank you too from so many people. So, and again, thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for playing 3-Question Thursday. It's been so great to know you.
I appreciate you, Noreen. You're doing great work. And thank you so much. Big hugs to you and for everything you're doing for this community and spreading the word about, sugar and flour. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, everybody. Good night. Have a good night and stay bright. Good night.